There is a moment just before a man changes his life when he is at war with himself. A war not waged with bullets or blades, but with silence, hesitation, and invisible shackles forged by fear. It's not the world that stops you. It's not the critics, the economy, or the competition. It's the voice inside your own mind, the whisper that says, "You're not ready, you're not good enough, what if you fail?" That voice is the enemy, and until you conquer it, you will never conquer anything else. Fear is not real in the sense that gravity is real. It is a shadow cast by the mind, born from uncertainty, fed by inaction, and multiplied by time. Napoleon Hill once wrote, "Fear is the tool of a man-made devil, and if you let it stay long enough, it will build a prison so convincing you'll stop trying to escape." But you were not born to hide. You were not created to sit in the shadows of your own potential. You were born to rise. Because fear is not a wall, it is a door. And beyond that door is everything you have ever dreamed of. Look back at every great life, every titan of history, and you will see not men and women without fear, but men and women who walked forward in spite of it. Thomas Edison failed over 10,000 times. Walt Disney was told he had no imagination. Henry Ford was bankrupted. Abraham Lincoln lost elections. They were not immune to fear, they were simply unwilling to bow to it. Success does not require fearlessness. It demands faithfulness to a vision, to a dream, to a purpose, burning so hot that it incinerates your excuses. Fear is not destroyed with more knowledge or more planning. Fear dies when you do the thing anyway, when your feet move before your mind tries to stop them. You want success? Then you must learn to dance with fear, not run from it, not wait until it disappears, but face it, stare it down, and walk through it. Because here's the truth, no one tells you fear is a compass. It points to the very thing you must do, the dream you're meant to chase, the call you're meant to answer. It points to growth. Fear lives at the edge of your comfort zone, and success lives just beyond it. Let's call it what it really is. Fear is the final test, not of talent, not of intelligence, but of will, of faith, of whether or not you're willing to act before you see the staircase, to leap before you know where you'll land. And until you pass that test, you stay stuck. You will live the same year 80 times and call it a life. You'll wait for permission that never comes. You'll hide behind goals you never take action on, and dreams that die still inside you. But the man who wins is the man who gets up scared and moves anyway. So move. Don't wait for the fear to vanish. Don't wait until you feel ready. You'll be waiting forever. The truth is, success is not for the fearless. It's for the brave. And bravery means acting in the presence of fear, not in its absence. Ask yourself, what dream have you delayed because of fear? What have you told yourself you're not ready for? What door have you refused to open because you feared what was on the other side? Now look deeper. Who could you become if you walked through that fear? Because on the other side of every fear is a stronger, freer, more powerful version of you waiting to be born. Your destiny does not lie in safety. It lies in risk, in courage, in action. Do you think Andrew Carnegie built an empire by staying comfortable? Do you believe Oprah Winfrey became a global force by playing small number? They made a decision that fear would not run their lives. And so must you. This is not about tricks or tactics. This is about choosing every single day to stop being a slave to a thought. It is about installing in your spirit a new belief that fear is a signal, not a sentence. That fear is a teacher, not a tyrant. And that you were not given a dream unless you were also given the strength to fulfill it. But strength doesn't show up before the fear. It grows through it. Every time you face it, act in spite of it. Speak truth while your voice shakes you. Build the muscle of resilience. You train the mind to bend to your will. You become stronger than what scares you. You want to know the secret of the successful? They do it afraid. And over time, the fear shrinks while they grow. Now listen closely because this matters. The mind will always imagine a fear greater than the reality. The danger is rarely as large as the shadow it casts. The call you don't make, the stage you don't step on, the business you don't launch, the truth you don't speak, the cost of fear is life itself. And the longer you wait, the heavier the regret. So ask yourself this. Are you going to spend your life waiting for the courage to show up? Or will you meet fear on the battlefield today and say, I'm done waiting, I'm done hiding, I'm done living small? Because everything you want is hiding behind the lie that fear is your master. But it's not. You are. And when you decide fully, completely, unapologetically that fear no longer gets to drive your choices, you will begin to live like few ever do. Not safe, but free. Not quiet, but powerful. You'll begin to feel that electricity, that charge in your spirit that tells you you're alive, that you were made to walk with purpose, that you were not born to tiptoe through life hoping to arrive safely at death. You were born to build, to believe, to become, and the only thing standing in your way is fear. So crush it. Stand up, breathe in your birthright, and say with every cell in your body, I will not let fear steal another second of my life. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Now. Fear is a liar, but repetition has given it power. It repeats until you start to believe its truth, and once you believe it, it becomes your reality. But remember, this reality is negotiable. It is shaped not by what you fear, but by what you decide to act on in spite of that fear. You are not bound by the voice in your head unless you obey it. So what will you obey? The illusion of fear or the vision of who you were born to become? Because there are two forces at war within you, the version of you that survives and the version of you that leads. One says stay safe, the other says go forward. The war is not fought in public. It's not on stages or in boardrooms or in headlines. It's in quiet moments when no one is watching. When the alarm goes off and you're tempted to stay in bed. When the opportunity arises but you hesitate to speak. When your heart whispers yes but your mind screams no. And in those moments, a king is crowned or a coward is created. You must choose again and again to act like the person you're becoming, not the one you've been. That's the path to mastery. That's the price of success. That's the blueprint carved into the lives of every legend this world has ever known. Do you think Martin Luther King Jr. didn't feel fear before stepping to the podium? Do you believe Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison without wrestling with doubt? Do you imagine Helen Keller, deaf and blind, never questioned the value of her voice? But they moved anyway. They walked through their shadows. And in doing so, they lit a torch for the rest of the world. Because courage doesn't start in the muscles, it starts in the mind. It begins the moment you refuse to let fear speak louder than your vision. And vision is everything. Without it, fear thrives. But with it, fear is starved. When your vision is clear, your fight becomes focused. You're not wandering in the fog, reacting to emotion. You're driven by destiny. That's why the first step in overcoming fear is not bravery, it's clarity. Clarity of what you want, who you are, why you're here. Without that, you're tossed by the winds of uncertainty. But with it, you become unshakable. Like a mountain that no storm can move. So get clear, burn the excuses, strip away the distractions, stop entertaining everything that doesn't align with your vision. Your future deserves better than your comfort zone. Most people are not stopped by lack of ability. They're paralyzed by lack of direction. They are trying to please everyone, fit in, play small, avoid judgment, and in doing so, they abandon the very fire that was supposed to guide them. Let the world misjudge you. Let them misunderstand you. What matters is that you know where you're going. Because once your vision becomes more powerful than your fear, the chains begin to fall off. You don't hesitate as long. You don't explain yourself as much. You don't live for applause. You live for purpose. And purpose is the antidote to fear. When you wake up with a cause greater than your ego, greater than your fear of failure, greater than your image, you stop waiting and you start moving. You stop needing motivation, you are pulled by a mission. That's what greatness is. Not perfection, not certainty, but being willing to walk with purpose even when your legs tremble. And make no mistake, the road will not be easy. You will be tested. You will face criticism, isolation, betrayal. Your old life will claw to pull you back. People will doubt you. Your own mind will try to deceive you. But if your purpose is clear, you will not break. You may bend, you may fall, but you will not break. Because a person on purpose is a person on fire. They don't just work, they build. They don't just hope, they believe. They don't just fear, they overcome. That's the level you must rise to. And it starts right now. Make the decision. You are no longer available for fear-based thinking. You are no longer available for smallness, for safety, for maybe someday. You are only available for forward motion, for aligned action, for becoming the version of you that fear was designed to stop. Because here's the secret. Fear isn't an obstacle, it's a mirror. It shows you exactly where your growth lives, exactly where your chains are still wrapped around your soul. When you feel it, don't run. Don't numb it with distraction or disguise it with logic. Look it in the eyes and say, thank you for showing me the next level. Because the moment you start seeing fear as your map, you'll stop avoiding it and start using it. You'll realize that every time fear shows up, it's not trying to stop you, it's trying to wake you up to a dream, a gift, a power you've left dormant. And when you rise to meet that call, when you step forward in defiance of fear, you become something more. Not just successful, not just wealthy, but powerful, magnetic, alive. You start moving with a different energy, the energy of someone who has met themselves in the fire and kept walking. You become untouchable, not because you don't feel fear, but because it no longer holds you hostage. You walk into rooms with vision in your eyes. You speak with conviction in your voice. You execute without hesitation because you've already made the decision. You don't bow to fear, you use it. And when you do that, the world changes around you. Doors open. People notice. Momentum builds. Because life rewards those who lead it, not those who wait to feel ready. You will not rise by chance. You will not stumble into greatness the way a man stumbles into a ditch. You must command your rise. And to do that, you must be forged in discipline. Discipline is the bridge between fear and freedom. It is the quiet force that reshapes the nervous system, reprograms the mind, and molds the soul into steel. Without discipline, you are prey to the mood of the moment, the seduction of excuses, the mirage of comfort. But with it, you become a weapon. Look at every man or woman who conquered history, not with armies, but with persistence. Edison failed 10,000 times before lighting the world, not because he was fearless, but because he was disciplined enough to continue. Henry Ford was mocked, ridiculed, and nearly bankrupted, but his discipline turned machines into monuments. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for television. Lincoln lost more elections than most people ever enter. Disney was fired for lacking imagination. You think they didn't feel the weight of rejection? You think fear didn't visit them in the dead of night whispering, quit? But their discipline said, number, discipline is not sexy. It is not loud. It is not praised. It is waking up when no one is watching. It is showing up when no one applauds. It is doing what must be done, especially when you don't feel like it. Because here's the truth. Your feelings will lie to you. They will tell you to rest when it's time to move. They will tell you to stop when it's time to push. They will scream, not today, when destiny is standing at your front door. But discipline answers with action. Discipline doesn't ask for motivation, it creates momentum. And momentum is how you outrun fear. Because fear feeds on stillness, on stagnation, on delay. But momentum is the blade that cuts through the fog. Every day you move forward, even 1 inch is a declaration that fear is no longer your ruler. You don't need massive leaps. You don't need heroic bursts. You need daily devotion to the process. Build the habits. Build the hours. Build the mindset. Not to impress others, but to become someone you trust. Because success doesn't come to those who wish. It comes to those who work when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's painful. That's where belief is born. Not in hype, but in hardening. Belief is not a feeling, it is a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows through resistance. Every time you move in the face of fear, your belief strengthens. Every time you speak your vision louder than your doubt, your belief deepens. Every time you take action that makes your old self uncomfortable, your belief evolves. And that belief becomes a force field, a shield that no opinion, no failure, no fear can penetrate. Because belief is the soil in which destiny takes root. Without it, nothing grows. But with it, anything can. You think Carnegie amassed an empire by waiting to be confident? No, he built belief by acting through fear until his vision became more real than his doubt. And you must do the same. Your fear will not vanish, but your belief can outgrow it. Your past may not change, but your identity can transcend it. And identity is the real battlefield. Because fear doesn't attack your goals, it attacks your sense of who you are. It says, you're not ready, you don't deserve this, this isn't you. And if you agree, you shrink. But if you answer with belief, I am becoming, I am capable, I am destined, then fear loses its teeth. You must claim the identity of the person who already has what you want. Not in ego, in embodiment. Walk like them, speak like them, decide like them, because the secret is this. You don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. And who you are is not a slave to fear. You are a builder, a warrior, a vessel of vision, a channel for change. But only if you claim it. Right now, this moment is the dividing line. The line between the person you were and the one you must become. Not when the timing is better. Not when the fear goes away. Now, because the future is not promised to the hesitant. It belongs to those who move forward with trembling hands and a steady soul. To those who act before they're ready. To those who answer, fear not with retreat, but with revolution. That revolution begins the moment you say, I am done letting fear decide for me. And you replace hesitation with aggressive clarity. Clarity of your vision, clarity of your values, clarity of your voice. Because the person who is clear, truly clear, cannot be manipulated by fear. You cannot be stopped by opinions when your truth is loud. You cannot be shaken by setbacks when your purpose is firm. You cannot be distracted by comfort when your destiny is burning. And that destiny is calling you now. It is calling you to break the loop, to stop waiting, to rise. Not in theory, in action. Because your life will be measured not by the fears you felt, but by the victories you claimed in spite of them. Let them come. Let fear come. Let doubt come. Let the inner resistance roar, and then move anyway. Because every time you move, fear dies a little more. And every time fear dies, you are reborn. Not as who you were, but as who you were meant to become. This is not a game of external victories. This is an internal revolution. A complete shedding of your old skin, your old doubts, old habits, old excuses, so your true self can rise. And to rise, you must adapt. You must become like water, strong enough to cut through stone, yet soft enough to find a new path when blocked. Because fear isn't always a monster. Sometimes it's a mirror, showing you where you refuse to grow. Sometimes the fear is there to evolve you, to stretch you, bend you, mold you into something more resilient, more aware, more unshakable. So don't curse the storm. Learn to dance inside it. When others freeze, you flow. When others fold, you figure it out. Because success is not given to the strongest or the smartest, it is seized by the most adaptable. The ones who keep moving when the terrain shifts. The ones who keep building when the plans fall apart. The ones who bend but do not break. That's the secret behind every world changer, every pioneer, every immortal name carved into the stone of history. They refused to let fear or failure define them. They adapted. Thomas Edison didn't just create the light bulb. He created the character to fail again and again without losing fire. Walt Disney didn't just imagine cartoons. He reimagined what was possible even after being betrayed, fired, and laughed out of every bank in town. Every rejection was fuel. Every failure was a forge. Every closed door was a signpost not to stop, but to shift course and sharpen strategy. You must learn this. You must internalize it. Because fear whispers, if this doesn't work, you're finished. But adaptability roars back, if this doesn't work, I'll find another way. And that's where your power is not in avoiding fear, but in becoming too flexible to be broken, too mission-driven to be stopped, too rooted in purpose to be swayed by circumstance. Because what is success, really? It's not money, it's not fame, it's not even achievement. Success is becoming the person who can't be stopped, who can't be bought, who can't be broken by failure, fear, or fatigue. That's why you're here. That's why you were given the fire. Not to sit in silence, not to be average, but to master your response to resistance. Because in the end, everything is feedback. Every delay is a lesson. Every setback is a mirror. Every fear is a compass pointing to the next version of you that you haven't stepped into yet. And when you stop running from it, when you face it head on, you become it. You become the storm. You become the one others fear quitting on, the one who keeps rising, the one who refuses to fold. But it starts with a choice. Right now, no more waiting for the perfect moment. No more praying for the fear to vanish. No more begging life to be easier. The mountain will not lower for you. You must rise to meet it with your back straight, your soul loud, your heart on fire, because fear does not mean stop. Fear means this is the edge of your old self, and the edge is where the transformation begins. You will not find your power in comfort. You will not meet your higher self inside the cage of the familiar. You will only find it where the path goes dark and you walk it anyway. That is the journey of the few. That is the calling of those chosen to leave average behind. And if you listen closely, you'll realize you were never afraid of failure. You were afraid of what would happen if you succeeded. What would change? Who you would lose? What you would have to become. But that's not fear, that's truth knocking at your door. And you must answer it with everything you have. You must look fear in the eye and say, I am no longer available for a small life. I am no longer negotiating with doubt. I am no longer delaying my destiny. Because your destiny doesn't wait. It doesn't pause because you're scared. It doesn't hold back because you're uncomfortable. It marches forward, and it's your job to catch up. Even if your hands shake, even if your voice trembles, even if no one believes in you yet, especially then, because that's when it counts the most. When the room is silent, when the fear is loud, when the dream feels distant, and the voice inside says, maybe you should just stay safe, that's when you choose legacy over comfort, purpose over pride, discomfort over denial. You choose to keep climbing, even when the mountain gets steep, even when the trail disappears, even when the people around you stop moving, because you know you were not built to stay at the base. You were born for the summit, because the summit, it's not a place, it's a decision. A decision you make in your soul when you finally declare, no more running. No more hiding behind potential. No more camouflaging greatness in the name of humility. No more letting fear rent space in your mind without paying for it in progress. You were not born to tiptoe through life hoping to land safely in a coffin. You were born to walk with fire, to build with faith, to roar louder than the doubts inside you. And the only thing separating you from that future is the courage to believe it already belongs to you. You spent too long dimming your light so others wouldn't feel blind around you. But your fear of offending the insecure has kept you small. And now it's time to reclaim the voice that fear tried to bury. To take up space with your gifts. To walk into rooms like you were sent there on assignment. Because you were. You think you stumbled into this desire? This burning ambition? This restless hunger? Number. That was planted inside you by the same force that created stars, mountains, oceans, and breath. And you insult that force every time you bow to fear. You dishonor it every time you let self-doubt write the ending to a story meant for conquest. because fear is a liar, a shapeshifter, a master illusionist that speaks in what-ifs and whispers of failure, but never of destiny. Because fear knows it cannot control someone who walks in faith. It can't survive in a heart that's on fire. It has no voice in a soul that remembers who it is. You think the pain of discipline is hard? Try the pain of regret. Try waking up one day realizing you let fear steal your purpose, that you gave up your power in exchange for comfort, that you traded your potential for predictability. You'll never feel more lost than when you know you were meant for more and chose less. So don't wait until the clock runs out to realize what was always inside you. Don't let your story end in a whisper when it was meant to be shouted through generations. Because someone out there is waiting for your breakthrough, for your courage to give them permission to rise. Your story isn't just for you. Your triumph over fear will be someone else's survival guide. Your refusal to quit will be the spark that lights someone else's fire. And that is the real legacy. Not trophies, not titles, not applause, but lives changed because you refused to bow to fear. And if fear shows up tomorrow, let it, because you'll show up louder. If fear starts screaming, let it, because your vision is deafening. And if fear still dares to rise, then you rise higher, with shoulders squared and soul aligned, with clarity of mission and refusal to fold, with heart open and fire unshakable. You face that fear like the warrior you were born to be, and you say, "You do not own me. You do not define me. You do not get the final word, because I was made for more, built for more, called for more, and I will not leave this earth with my song still trapped in my chest. I will live loud. I will lead boldly. I will love fiercely, and I will walk through fear, not because I am fearless, but because I have decided that my faith is louder, because I finally understand success is not reserved for the chosen. It's built by the committed, and I am committed to the mission, to the climb, to the fire, to becoming the version of me that fear was always afraid of. So bring the doubt, bring the delay, bring the resistance. I am ready, because now I see fear for what it truly is, a test, and I was born to pass it, not with ease, but with conviction, not without scars, but with a soul forged in fire, not without fear, but with a purpose louder than fear could ever be. And when I reach that summit, when I look back at the path I carved through chaos and shadows, I will smile, because I will know I became the one who could not be stopped. And that, my friend, is success. Thank you.